Good evening, and once again to the Marty Heiser Show. We have got an incredible show for you tonight, an incredible show. I know that there's a football game on tonight, but I'm telling you what's going to happen. Philadelphia is in a downward death spiral. They had to fly all the way across the country to Seattle to play. They're going to be tired from the flight. They got that backup quarterback, Carter, playing. I think he's already thrown an interception. Don't worry about it. We'll give you updates. There's nothing to watch. Stay right here with the Marty Heiser Show because we have got a great show for you tonight. I'm calling this show The Beauty and the Beast. We have emerging author Nina Majera, who has written a book called This Mother's Life. I don't know if we can get a close-up of the title, This Mother's Life. And it's talking about the plight of a woman, a highly educated woman, an attractive woman in the book. She claims is not autobiographical, and we're going with that. But a woman who raises her children and finds herself in careers and juggling the tensions of being a good wife, a good mother, a good a wife to her husband, a good person in the marketplace, and so forth. And then also, the second half of the show, we're going to be joined by none other than Phil Esposito, the Phil Esposito of the Danbury Whalers, not the Phil Esposito of the Boston Bruins. Actually, no relation, but same name. And he's going to be talking about the red-hot Danbury Whalers hockey team, which play right down at the Danbury Civic Center, and that is great entertainment for the whole family if you like to see grown men getting in fights. But we're going to be talking with him because we want to find out about what's going on with the Danbury Whalers, and I'm telling you, it's a great night out for the whole family. I want to start briefly by saying, usually I have a little rant, but I'm finding myself getting a little sick of politics. It's hard to explain, but it's true. We've got a whole year of this ahead of ourselves. The Republicans are working it out. Newt's up, Newt's down, Romney's up, whatever. I just want to come up with a candidate. We'll run them against Barack Obama and let the chips fall where they may. I think we need a change. But one thing I will say is that you, the American consumer, can potentially pull this economy out of the doldrums. And I'm beginning to see little green shoots, little green glimmers of light out there on the economy. And for now, it's the Christmas spending. My goodness, I don't know what they call it, Black Friday, White Monday, or whatever it is, but people are spending money on the internet. People are clogging the malls. Everyone's sales are up, and they're up like 20%. That's a good sign. 70% of our economy is consumer spending. So if you're out there and you're wondering, should I renovate the kitchen now or not? Take one for the team. Go ahead and renovate the kitchen. If you're thinking about trading in that car, that's another thing. Chrysler, GM, Ford, all big spikes in car sales. That's what's going to get ourselves out of this. We're Americans. We want to go for the gusto. We're not playing not to lose. We're playing to win. So if you have an opportunity to commit to the economy and make some purchases, go ahead and do it, because now is the time to do it, and that's going to begin to get us out of this, 3-year recession we've been going through. But anyways, that's my rant. The show tonight, The Beauty and the Beast. And Nina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark.
Either the Beauty or the Beast. I guess you will be playing the role of the Beauty.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Nina, I read every word of this book. I underlined it, as we talked about beforehand. And why don't you just introduce us to the main character in the book, who you claim is not autobiographical, but if you know your life, there's some similarities. But tell us what this mother, wife, sister, daughter, what are the major struggles in her life, and how does she work them through? And then I'll have some specific questions as well.
There are 3 main parts of the story, Marty, which were very important to me to show. One is the biculturalism. The second aspect is the separation, divorce she's going through. And the third one is being a working mother. So those parts are somewhat similar to my own life, and were very important to me to show them in order to show other women who go through a separation, for example. It's normal to have those up and down feelings. It is normal to wake up one day and say, why did I even get married to this man? The following day, then again coming up and saying, I don't know why I want to get a divorce. It's normal to go through those ups and downs. The second aspect being the bicultural aspect. Many people don't understand that being bicultural is an entire lifestyle. It doesn't stop when you are an adult. Basically, I will be always bicultural my whole life.
Yeah, tell just for the vast viewing audience, you grew up in
Germany.
In Germany, but
I was born on a trip of my parents to Iran. However, my household was very German. My parents had immigrated to Germany in 1961. They went back to Iran. They came where I was born, and then they came back to Germany again.
well, let me just say, do you, as the author of this book, do you identify more with your Iranian culture or with your German culture, or is it kind of a mixture of all let loose out in the new world of America?
Well, pretty much when I was living in Iran, I felt like a German. In our household, basically, my parents were very German-oriented. Going into the bigger family, like cousins, I felt like the German kid again. But coming to Germany, all of a sudden, I felt like the Iranian. So it was only in 1993 when I moved to the U.S. I started slowly feeling it doesn't really matter what kind of nationality I have. It depends what kind of person I am. So now I feel more like a human being living on Earth. I don't like those boundaries of I have to be Iranian, I have to be German. I pretty much mix and match whatever culture I like.
See, because in the book, it looks like you're struggling with this. Or not you, I'm sorry. This is the author of the book, because this is not autobiographical. But the character in the book looks like she's struggling, and where it comes to the fore is when she's dealing with her husband's family and parents and the expectations that they have.
Yes.
I believe one of the quotes in the book was, oh, I guess it was the husband that says, "You're starving to death sitting at a banquet table full of food."
Exactly.
And then the mother-in-law of the main character in the book would be very judgmental. Why aren't you taking care of my son? And it was, I think, very good writing. If there are children in the room, you might want them to leave. But I mean, there's talking about how the mother, you know, just worshipped her son in all his grandeur. We'll leave it at that. But is that something that you find particular to the Iranian culture, that the favorite son, you know, that nothing that a wife can do is good enough for the favorite son, and that's quite a constraint?
That's a very good question, Marty, and this is something not only the main character of the book had to struggle with. I have gone through the struggle myself. Having been very German-oriented and then marrying someone who was Persian but grew up in America and Germany, my ex-husband's family was pretty much like this, even though I don't want to talk them in a bad way now.
Right.
But I always felt like the Iranian families had different expectations from the daughter-in-law, which I was never accustomed to. Iranian men in Iran are completely different, again, than Iranian men growing up in the U.S. And I can show you the difference.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's not what you will, or you might think.
They're more strict in America, the Iranians?
Yes, and I tell you why.
What about with all the burqas over there?
No, the
Women
burqas
can't
are in
drive and all this
that's in
stuff.
Saudi Arabia. The women can't drive. In Afghanistan, it's the burqa. If you look at the Islamic countries,
They're just
you have
burning
to
their
go.
brassieres in Iran.
No,
Is that
you
what you're
have
saying?
to. You have to go back to their pre-Islamic history and see why, for example, the chador came up. In Iran, the women have the chador, which is completely different, and it comes from the Greek times or from the Zoroastrian times, where the Arabs then came and took that scarf the women had on their backs from their clothing and put them over their heads. So that is why Iran is as one of the only Islamic countries with the women's chador, which is not comparable to the burqa, where the face is covered.
Okay, but I mean, it would suffice it to say that the Iranian culture, as far as their, I don't want to say necessarily oppression of women, but you certainly have more opportunities for freedom and deciding your life's role and how you're going to live your life in the American culture. And having known a little bit about the German culture, because my mother grew up in Germany, so half our family's over there, there again, even that culture, not from a sort of a Muslim point of view or Persian point of view, but that can be pretty doggone confining. But you get over here to America, and it's a goddamn blank slate, and you got to make it up as you see it.
I don't agree with you on that. Going back to the first point which you mentioned regarding the men, I give you an example. For example, I have a lot of male cousins in Iran. They are much more westernized than Iranian men you meet here in the U.S. Just because they feel also the oppression, political, religious, cultural. So they try to imitate their image of the Western men. And Iranian men who grow up here in the US or in Germany, they try to imitate how a Persian man should be, and so they automatically become stricter. Do you understand that relationship?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, do you think there's any residual guilt having left their homeland and over here, and they want to make sure we make sure our women do not become these, you know, loose women you see in American television?
But I have to say, in my ex-husband's defense, he was not like this, obviously. There are other issues why I got a separation and a divorce. But Iranian men in general, or Middle Eastern men in general, are stricter with their wives. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That is absolutely for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, actually, you know, reading the book, and again, I don't know, we're maintaining the pretense that this was just a fictional book. You keep referring it to your husband. I'll say the character in the book. I found myself thinking that the husband was, you know, fairly rational, and that the lady in the book was looking somehow, I just wrote it down, seeking the perfect man, seeking the perfect marriage, seeking the perfect family, seeking the perfect balance between a career and living here, and still having your gal pals that you go out for lunch with and have, you know, just wonderful relations.
Marty, of course,
and the tension is trying to mix it all together.
Of course. This whole entire book, except the three pillars, which I call them always the three bridges of the book, it should exaggerate. Why? Because the reader is supposed to think about a lot of things. I'm not a lecturing kind of a person. I'm more a humorous person, and I try to bring always the point across with a sense of humor. So you as a reader of the book, you're supposed to just get teased a little bit by some words or phrases and think, well, maybe she does exaggerate here, but there is a point about it. It's supposed to be thought-provoking. So a lot of the aspects, like she's looking for the perfect man. I have a lot of girlfriends, and they are looking for the perfect man, not understanding that nobody is perfect. You know, so there is no perfect life. And I consider myself today a very lucky woman. I have a great job. I have my kids. I have my house. Everything is fine. Is it a perfect life? No. You know, so everything has to be in moderation, so even the perfectness doesn't exist.
Yeah, like in the book, you talk a little bit about you know, men and what are they really looking for? Are they looking for Heidi Fleiss, or are they looking for Wolfgang Puck? Or they want, you know, an harlot in the bedroom, and they want to cook in the kitchen, and I can't be all those things. And then you talk a little bit too about men. Your impression of men, at least you said on page 43, that men are sometimes frightened of a woman who thinks for herself and is independent.
That is true.
And your experience has been that this is a problem.
Men, and I spoke to many women, and the other characters are obviously a mix and match of all friends I have and also my own experiences. So everything is in a mishmash. Many men do get intimidated by women who think for themselves and who are outspoken and are not scared of really politely expressing their opinion, or sometimes unpolitely expressing their opinions. That is still, even here in America, still seen as a threat. In a way.
Yeah. You know, it could be, you say on, and the book is it's a real page turn, I'll say that. If they have the website up, I think they can get your book through the website or something like that. But again, it's Nina Majera, M-O-H-A-D-J-E-R, and the book is This Mother's Life. It's a real page turner, and it's set in the format of kind of a diary entry. It sort of takes you through a year and through, you know, the various ups and downs of raising two teenage girls and dealing with a relationship at home that might work out but might not, and if it does work out, you know, if it doesn't, what's my plan B? But here, this is you know, you're really taking it to the men. Okay, on March 17th, he said, okay, here's the deal. I don't speak the same language as men do. Don't laugh. I'm deadly serious. It took me close to 30 years to discover this. Yes, I know that's pretty late, but hey, better late than never. And here's some wisdom. 3 weeks ago, I found a long-lost friend online, and we emailed back and forth. And I want to get into this. Your emailing is very interesting. Back and forth, and some things happened. But again, you were expressing friendship in the Neanderthal-esque food, sex, that's all men think about. There were some mixed signals here. Walk us through that. What are men always thinking about, and why are we so intimidated by smart women?
Honestly, this situation happened to me, Marty. This is a true situation, yes.
Okay.
I had found a long-lost friend, and we started emailing, how are you doing? And at that time, I was working in a company where I was not happy. So my previous boss was pretty similar to the one in the book, very terrible person and everything. And knocking on wood, my present boss, I love him to death. He's wonderful. He's the best. However, going back to the main story here, I had an email exchange, very friendly, and I considered this guy still to be a good friend, like a buddy friend. And I'm talking to him about some chocolate and everything, and he completely misunderstood it. And he immediately thought I'm referring to other areas.
You're talking about chocolate, he thinks you're talking about sex.
Yes, yes.
So chocolate would be code for
probably,
let's get together.
Probably, I don't know. And I immediately noticed that, and I started thinking why this would happen to me, why when we offer friendship, it's perceived in a different way. And it happened to friends of mine as well. And it does happen, of course, to male people, like to men as well. Sometimes they want friendship, the woman wants more, but why the miscommunication happens. And I think it's just somehow that our brains function differently.
I guess. I mean, you're probably right. Now let's talk about the character in the book, because the character in the book is having difficulty at home. The marriage is you might say, a loveless marriage, although there were shimmers of hope, you know, where you guys all went out to the movies together as a family, and you had the special dinner together, and you thought it might work out, but the character in the book had this other person lined up. And then this character would meet people on the internet and have arrangements where they would meet. And let's call the person Bob. So the character meets Bob, and then they're going to get together for something, but she doubts Bob's sincerity. She thinks Bob is this kind of one-track mind guy that's just out for sex. And so on this same website, she came in as another person, complete with photographs and everything else, and says, "Hi, Bob," on the email.
Yes.
"This is Susie. We should get together. How about Thursday night?" And then Bob was going to get together with you on Thursday night, but you conspicuously or inconspicuously wanted to find out what he would say. The character in the book. And so Bob says, "Well, I'm meeting this person on Thursday night. She wants to ask about mortgages or something."
Yes.
And you say, "Aha! See, all men are crazy. They don't really love me. They're after one thing. What a scoundrel." And Bob's sitting here going, you know, what's going on? Explain that.
Well,
Did I get that right, or at least
approximately, yes, 10% of it. Many friends of mine are separated or single, either male or female friends, and they have gone through this, going on websites like Match or some other dating websites, and they have gone really through this by saying, okay, we wanted to meet with someone. All of a sudden, he showed less and less interest. The emails became more a rarity than a continuous relationship builder. And I had made the suggestion to one of my friends, well, maybe the guy you've been emailing with for 2-3 weeks, and all of a sudden he becomes busy. It's not all of a sudden that he's busy. Maybe he's interested in someone else. And this, well, we created another person, and it was not really a fictitious person. It was another friend of ours who happens to be a model, and she had pictures already everywhere in magazines. I'm not going to mention her name now because who knows.
So you float this other character
just to see the reaction
into cyberspace.
Exactly.
But this is entrapment. This is terrible.
No.
I mean, the poor Bob's just sitting there, you know, wants to take you out for coffee, might be pursuing a relationship, and then, oh, look over here, something else comes along.
That's a question, Marty. How far somebody is going to look, and we made a little experiment with it, how far somebody is willing to look and how far somebody would be going. Basically, are you just going to look or are you going to taste?
Could we have a close-up here? Yeah. Men out there. Be careful. I don't know which camera. Be careful. On these internet websites, you don't know what you're dealing with. You could be being tested. There could be ladies out there that are, you know, testing you. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm old-fashioned. If you go to the, you know, the burger and shake joint, you know, and you're you're there with a girl, Susie, who you like and you're getting together with later, but there's Brenda over there. What's the problem with talking to Brenda while you're talking to Susie? It's not like you're married.
No.
It's not like you're, entrapped.
No. That was not the deal.
Not everyone is this Herman Cain.
No. And again, it goes back to exaggerating things in the book. Of course, it's exaggerating. Everything is exaggerated there. It's brought more to the maximum because I wanted, one of my main goals was just to make people laugh about life's miseries. And you can only do that by exaggerating. Like she breaks off a heel on the way to the interview, or somebody bumps into her car while she's on the way to an interview, or the interview itself, for example. So those aspects, people should laugh about those, and then stop for a second and look at the beauty of life and get very emotional about it. So I wanted to show that balance as well. So by showing someone like, as you call her, Susie, and in the book her name is Giselle, just a very exotic name, we wanted to create also, basically my friends and I had done that before to some Bob guy.
Bob, if you're out there now, and no doubt you're in counseling, I don't know what to say, but tip of the hat to you, and these ladies outsmart all of us.
So, and I admit it was my crazy idea at that time. So,
but okay, just to kind of bottom line this, what are women after? I mean, here, okay, you're attractive, you're intelligent, you're exotic because you're Persian, Iran, Germany, you're here, you're well-educated, you're an attorney, right?
Yes.
Okay, you get married, you got a house in the suburbs, you got 2 kids.
Yes.
I believe your husband said, or the husband of the character in the book said, you're sitting at a banquet table and you're starving to death. What is it that you women want?
That's a good question, Marty. If I find the answer, I'm going to be remarried again.
Do you guys want to hear this by show of hands? I'll take that as a yes. Frank? What's the question? Frank's riveted to this question, so tell us, our vast viewing audience.
Well, the question is what women actually want, and that's a very good question because I always believe, and I think I discuss it also enough in the book, by the whole entire women movement, by our mothers burning the bras and saying women should behave like this, women should behave like that, we should go after our careers. I talked to many people from my own generation, and we all came to one conclusion, that we were always told by our mothers not to be like our grandmothers. Basically, a woman is supposed to go and work, a woman is supposed to be educated. My grandmother she was a very wealthy, both of them were very wealthy women. However, in a way, they were still financially dependent on their husbands, or decision-wise. They were the neck that would turn the head around, and in a way they had more power than was seen on the outside.
Have you seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yes,
it's
that's
just like
pretty much the same way. That's pretty much the same. On the other side, we were told, okay, you have to work, you have to do this, you have to do that, but still look like a lady. So what happened to me, and I tried to put it in the character as well, we were always insecure. How am I supposed to be? If I'm supposed to fight like a man, but then look like a woman, be same aggressions like a man, but again, be like a woman, it's a very intense, it's a tension inside of your persona. Basically, you feel you're supposed to kick the ball, but still keep wearing your tiara in a way.
Right.
So it's a very good, again, I don't have an answer what women want. Maybe someone who just takes us the way we are, accepts the fact that it's okay to prepare the dinner one night or to take care of the kids, to share the responsibilities.
In the lady in the book, when she struggles with this identity thing that you're talking about, the character in the book, it got a little bit beyond just tensions and dealing with it. It really got to be an existential yearning for what is my place in the world. You said it just shows you that you never know what's going on behind the walls of people's homes. By the way, if you like voyeuristic stuff, and this is good, if you ask others, they would probably think that I have it all: a nice car, a nice house, a nice husband, wonderful kids, but they have no idea! Exclamation point. Sometimes I want to scream at them. I would love to tell them that I'm planning to get a divorce and that I've tried to commit suicide, but I'm too chicken to do that. Good night for now. And really, the character in the book does have times, and I'll hold up the book one more time so you can get a feel for it, if we can get a shot of the book. But the character does come to points of despair You know, it's one thing to say, hey, I don't know if I'm supposed to be, you know, the Girl Scout or the den mother for the Cub Scouts, or this, you know, great lover in bed, and this great, you know, conqueror of the marketplace. But this character in the book was really having a identity crisis. What am I really here for? And where do I get lost in all this? It's almost like you want to plant your flag and say, appreciate me, know that I exist.
Exactly. And I believe, Marty, a lot of times working mothers do feel like this. Working mothers do feel like this because we never know whether we should be thinking more about the... when we are in the office, we think about our family. When we are at home, we think about the office. So when your boss tells you, for example, okay, we have at 4:30 we have this policy meeting, but you know at 4:35 your child's bus is going to arrive. How are you trying to pull yourself between the two? When a child gets sick, it's usually the mother who stays home.
It is.
And how are you supposed to rise in your office? I mean, again, going back to my own boss now, I'm very lucky. My boss is the best. I would not trade him with anything. And I would stay for him longer if he asked me to, because on the other side, he created that loyalty relationship with me that if I need to take off, I would get that time because he accepts me as a working mother. But I do understand, I've worked in firms where the boss was like the one here in the book, very mean, sitting there for 6 months counting how many minutes I had left earlier and how many minutes I had come in later, counting them up, making me work up for it again.
Close-up of the book. If I can just get a close-up of the book, too, that'd be great. But I think a little bit what your character is struggling with in this book is just kind of the bankruptcy of the women's movement that says that you can have it all, that it's okay to sacrifice your home life as long as you are you know, successful in the marketplace. And then people that bought into that went out into the marketplace, and as you say yourself in the book, or the client in the book says, talking about, you know, there's no cheese at the end of that. It says, hey guys, you might have gone through all your classes and ended up with a 4.0 GPA, but guess what? When the economy sucks, it simply sucks, and you won't be getting a job. You know, and you come to find out that the marketplace doesn't love you back. And you can put your whole heart and soul into that, but you're going to get crushed.
Yes.
And that's not what you were told growing up by the women's movement. It says you're going to get crushed if you stay at home and serve your husband and raise your children. That's going to be stifling, and they're holding you back. Break those, you know, I'm woman, watch me go. Go out in the marketplace and you get killed.
Basically, we were always told we fought for these women's rights, so you inherited them automatically, and you have to live up with those. But it was never told how we are supposed to juggle and balance it. Like my daughter's generations, they're thinking differently. They already have that, and they are making their own choices. They have the freedom of making their choices, because we were basically the sausage between the two buns, between my mother's generation and between my daughter's generation. So we were the ones trying to combine those two generations with each other, you know.
Thank you so much for coming in. The book, again, is, if we can get a close-up of the book, that'd be fantastic. The book, again, is This Mother's Life by Nina Majerus. Where can they get that? Do they go to that website right there?
They can go either to the website. There's also a link to the publisher's own personal bookshop. Then it is on Amazon. It's also on Barnes & Nobles, and every independent bookstore also carries it.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
And shining a little light on the mystery that is the female heart. We really appreciate it very much. And as promised, we've had the beauty, now the beast. We have a little bit of a segue, and that's going to be a little snippet from a hockey game. And then Phil Esposito, the coach of the Danbury Whalers, is going to come in and explain what we're about to see. So let's go to the videotape.
Just want to actually correct me on that one, Marco. On the next whistle, I accidentally, it's my first error of the night as Arnott gets it out of his own. We have a fight going on. It looks like it's going to be Carpenter and Fulton, and Fulton putting Carpenter into the bench. Carpenter, no chances at all, and now some more rough stuff as joining the fight is number 17 for the Danville Dashers, Ferguson. He's going to be a third man in. He better watch out he doesn't get thrown out and get ejected.
Better watch out he doesn't get suspended or thrown out of the league. And
another guy's getting in. O'Malley's in. And the bell Here we go. The benches are clearing. And all over the fight, too, is number 4, Ryan Sturm. Danville is having a tough time with the Whalers. And now both benches are clearing. A big fight. Chinova's in there. Everybody's in there. We have a brouhaha in the Danville bench. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is worse than a fight last night at Cape Cod. And everybody, this is going to be a tough time sorting all these penalties. I really feel bad for the off-ice officials with this one. And we have an injured player for the Dashers. He's number 7, Tyler Forbes. He must have gotten hit hard. Look at this. They're still going at it. Maloro is
and his crew cannot keep it up as right now it looks like Maloro's in, and now Temple's going in. Crazy trying to
Bolton is trying to get back in. Deshanes is trying to hold away. Nick Deshanes, the captain of the Whalers, holding Corey Fulton back.
And now
we have a brouhaha at the Colisee de Androscoggin.
And the craziest part about it, Nick Nieder's standing around right now like he's waiting for his oil to be changed, and he's picking up 6. That'd be the one guy I would say if there's a fight. And now he's going after another one.
Now the goalies want to go at it.
No, the goalies don't want to go at it. Bo just went after Lindoff.
30, 29, 28.
This is not what you expect.
No, not at all. They got to get some order down there. And the one thing you don't want to do if you're fighting the Danbury Whalers, don't fight Nick Nieder or Peter Beckman. They are wild dogs.
Especially Nieder. He was actually talking up on the bus about how it's been a while since he's been suspended. He shouldn't get anything for this. And right now, Chinovic just staring down the bench like, come on, let's go. Fulham is getting into it. Fulham bloodied and bruised.
I can only imagine how many done. I can only imagine how many people will be left on these benches after all the people are ejected. That's the first time I've seen that this year or any year in the FHL. This is crazy.
An absolute Donnybrook broke out.
Oh my goodness.
Sometimes it's fun.
You know what the funny part is? I actually come up here, I'm with Cape Cod now. We brought our point streak guy, Brian Baker. He's in charge of the point streak, and he's going to have a tough time putting all these penalties up on the scoreboard.
As I'm looking at it right now, there's going to be more than a few. It looks like Fulton and Shinova are done for the night here. We'll see who else gets. There's going to be more than a few ejections here. Commissioner Don Kernan is working his way around right now. Looks like he's going to come down and talk to some people. At the 10:41 mark in the third period, might be time to just call it here. Now Caranci is coming after someone. Nieder's going over. Are they going to get sticks or just... No, looks like pieces broken out here. And the fans who are enjoying this one have just witnessed, it looks like the first bench-clearing brawl in Federal Hockey League, at least this season, between these two sides.
He's still around.
Yeah.
All right, well, welcome back to the Marty Heiser Show. We are joined right now by the coach of the Danbury Whalers, Phil Esposito. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Marty.
I really appreciate it. We were just talking about the team. How far into the season are you right now? A third of the way, halfway?
We're about a quarter of the way into the season. We play roughly 53 games, I believe, and we're about we're 14 games into the season, so we're just about a little over a quarter of the way there.
All right, and right now you're 7-7. Are you where you want to be? Not where you want to be, and what do you need to do?
Not really where I want to be right now. We had a good run a couple of weeks ago. We went four wins in a row, and then we had a little bit of a skid here the last couple of weeks. We had a lot of injuries. We have a lot of call-ups. We had 3 or 4 guys get called up to our affiliate, our AA affiliate, the Elmira Jackals, the East Coast Hockey League, and it's kind of hurt us a little bit. We went on a skid here for a couple of games, and we lost 3 in a row now, I believe, and one last night, which I thought we were going to pull out, and we didn't. And late in the end of the game there.
That was tough. Carl, you have a question for the coach?
Marty?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Firstly, just I want to commend you for having a different array of guests tonight, not the usual Richfield Forum.
Hey, the Beauty and the Beast, baby. The Beauty and the Beast. By the way, you're playing the role of the Beast.
I guess so.
You're a lot harder to look at than Nina. Okay, go ahead. You have a question for the coach?
Yeah, I got a question for the coach. I watched that fight, and when I heard Phil Esposito, I was thinking the other Phil Esposito. You're not related to the other Phil Esposito, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Coach, I've been to a couple of games. When you see that fight, you've been around hockey. That fight happens over. That's like Western Ontario type of stuff. What is the deal with your first two lines? You seem to be switching. What is the problem right now with the first two lines? That's my question.
Good question. Thanks a lot for calling. And by the way, if you have questions, we're going to have the phone number up there the whole time, 438-2003. What is it with the first two lines? What's going on?
Well, like I said, basically the season here, we're one of three teams in the Federal Hockey League to have an affiliation with the AA team in the East Coast Hockey League, and we're with the Elmira Jackals, and for some reason the other teams haven't had as much traffic as we've had. I mean, we're 14 games into the season, and I've already had like 9 or 10 guys get called up and are playing up in that other league there now. So we're kind of got a little bit of a revolving door when it comes to players, and a lot of times it's our better players, and those are the players that are on the first two lines. So we've had to kind of mix and match guys in and out and try and see line combinations to see who's going to fit well together, and it takes a little while to get going. I mean, we had the same problem last year, and then we were able to turn it around, later on in the second half of the season, and once we get those guys in the right spots and they gel together, things get really, really, they start playing really well together, and things start to click.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22 because you've got such good players that are executing well and getting points and scoring goals, and then all of a sudden the next team up on the ladder, cherry picks these guys and takes your best guys. It's kind of a good thing because these guys want to progress in their professional career, so they're happy to be called up to go to the show, or at least closer to the show. But it's got to be tough to manage that.
Well, it's real tough, especially down here because we're the bottom rung on the ladder here. So
it's from here to Tuesday Night Men's League.
Pretty much,
okay.
Yeah. So we're the bottom rung on the ladder. So when we lose a guy like that, it really affects us. The good thing about it is we get a lot of the more better players and stuff who want to come here because they see the traffic that we have between Danbury and Elmira right now. So, I mean, all the other teams in the league, I think there's only one or two other guys who had call-ups, and we're already up to number 9. So, wow. I mean, and a lot of that has to do with the relationship that I have with a lot of those coaches and stuff up in that league because I played up there for a long time and stuff, and I know a lot of them. So that's one of the other reasons where some of the other coaches in this league don't really have that relationship. So that's one of the reasons why we have so many call-ups here compared to some of the other teams.
So these coaches will call you and say, listen, I need someone who's got soft hands who can score goals.
Yeah.
What do you got? Or I need a bruising defenseman that's going to kill penalties. Who do you got? That's
one of our biggest things right there that you just said is defensemen. I mean, I still wish I played defense because if I was a defenseman, I'd probably still be playing because a really good stay-at-home defenseman is a guy who can have a career for a long time. As long as you can stay back and prevent goals and keep the puck out of your own end and stuff, it's one of those things where you can have a job for a while. So every time we get one of those, we wind up losing them right away. So that's one of the bad points. But it's good for the guys because they're getting a chance to call up. Like I just had, our starting goalie, Nick Nieder, he got called up the other day. He's up in Elmira now for 4 days. He'll be up there for the weekend and stuff. So, it's one of those things. It's catch-22. It's good and it's bad. It's good for the players. It's good for us because we get a lot of the better players here who want to get a chance to get called up because they see the traffic. But it's bad because it's real hard to put together a lineup every night that's the same. So it kind of.
So the Elmira Jackals, who did they then graduate to from there?
They graduate to the Binghamton Senators and the Syracuse Crunch. They have two teams in the American Hockey League.
And then is that the feeder then to the NHL?
That's the feeder to the NHL, to the Anaheim Ducks, and to the I believe it's the New York Islanders. So it's one of those two.
So the team, like many of you probably have seen the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. They're a feeder team to the
Islanders
New York
also.
Islanders.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what they're trying to do. I mean, it's really fascinating when you look at some of the backgrounds of some of these guys. Like there's a guy named Chris Clark that plays. He might be one of these stay-at-home defensemen.
Yeah, he's one of our big.
Did he get called up?
Yeah, he's been called up many times.
Okay.
He's got called up.
But this guy, listen to his resume. He's played for the Smith Falls Bears 2 years, Valley Forge Freedom, the Pickering Panthers, the Wichita Thunder, the Jonestown Chiefs. Is that what was in the movie Slapshot?
Slapshot, yeah.
So if you've seen Slapshot, putting on the foil coach, Jonestown Chiefs, right there. It's a real team. The Hudson Valley Bears, Cincinnati Cyclone, Utah Grizzly, Louisiana Ice Gators. How much would you pay for a Louisiana Ice Gator sweater? Fayetteville Fire Ants, the Reading Royals, Danbury Whalers, and on it goes. These are guys that are holding on to their hockey dream and trying to make it go. And I'm telling you, I mean, we're not trying to be commercial here, so we're not. I'm just saying, as a civic announcement, these games are very entertaining to see. These guys are leaving it all out on the ice, and it's pretty impressive to see these guys skate. And it's not just out-of-town guys. I mean, they've had guys from Alberta, Canada, Mississauga, Ontario, Highland Falls, New York. They have guys from all over, but they also have a lot of local guys, like this guy, Chris Seifert. He's locally, he played in Stamford, Connecticut.
Yeah, he lives in Norwalk, yeah.
He lives in Norwalk. He's a local guy, but he's one of your top goal scorers,
yeah,
isn't he?
he's a little older than some of the guys we got on our team. He's been playing a while. He's always been a skilled forward, always been one of those guys who has a nose and a knack for putting the puck in the net. And last year he was our leading goal scorer. He's leading our team in points this year right now, and he's one of those guys who just, you know, he's going through a little bit of a slump. We got a couple of guys, him and the other kid, Marty Muka, number 9. He was up in the American Hockey League for a little while this year with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, and he got sent down. So those two guys there, they're in a little bit of a funk right now. We're having a little bit of a problem scoring goals, but that happens, and we'll fight through it, and eventually it'll all break open, and then we'll start, you know, the guys will start finding the net more.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, and I was at the game the other night when you played against New Jersey. By the way, Chris Furillo. He was, well, you know, you were the assistant coach last year. He was the head coach. There's no love lost between you. That's my sense. I read these things. It's an atmosphere thing. What's the story there? And how much did it hurt to lose to that son of a gun in your building? I mean, you got to be, you know, I know your wife's here tonight. Is there a suicide watch, anything like that? Or
No, there's no suicide. There was a suicide watch for some of my players last night, but that was about it, because I was about to commit suicide on a couple of them, but commit murder on a couple of them. But we had a little talk after the game last night about what happened, and
did you just have a clearing of the air? Did you have everyone sit down and share their feelings about how the game went, or did you kind of dominate the conversation?
I kind of dominated the conversation to some point.
So you had some thoughts you wanted to share?
I had a couple of thoughts.
Okay.
There's a couple of broken apparatuses in our locker room right now and things like that and stuff. So, you know, I sat down with everybody after the game. We had a little bit of a conversation. Everybody understood where I wanted to be and where I was coming from. And this morning we had a little bit of an hour skate, maybe on the ice with no pucks for an hour this morning. So there's a bunch of pissed off guys right now. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night.
If you've ever seen, like, going on YouTube, there's some famous hockey speeches by Herb Brooks. Is that right? Herbie Brooks. He was the coach of the 1980 Olympic hockey team, a real no-nonsense hockey coach. And he would skate those Olympic guys that eventually beat the Russians. They didn't beat the Russians, but they beat the Russians. And then who did they win in the Stanley Cup? Or in the,
they beat
the
Finland,
gold
I believe.
Finland, I think, was the last game. I mean, guys like Mark Johnson, Craig. Who was that goalie?
Jim Craig.
Jim Craig. Some really incredible hockey players. But he would skate these guys into the ice. And one thing you never want to hear your coach say in between periods is it that we're out of shape? Is that it? We're not skating hard enough? Are we out of shape? Because if you lose the game, same thing happens in football and other sports, but they have a way of focusing the mind in the next practice. Let me just ask you that philosophically. Is the high and joy of winning a game equate to the depths and despair of losing, or does losing just stink so bad it can't be compensated for by winning?
Well, the winning part is pretty good, but the losing part is really bad. I mean, it's just you know, we have a saying around the locker room and stuff. You're only as good as your last game. So when
you're only as good as your last shift.
Yeah. So when you lose a game like that, you know, we play so many games and we play so many nights during the week that it's a good thing we don't. It's not like football where you have to wait a whole week for the next game. I mean, we have a game usually within the next couple of days. So our atmosphere and our mood can change in 2 days. You know, from going from really, really low to being really, really high. So it's one of the great aspects of the hockey game and the season with so many games and stuff. So it's just one of those things, but you don't want to be down there too long, because the longer you're down there, the more, you know, you get to a point now where now guys' jobs are on the line, and you got players' jobs, and now guys are facing the adversity of whether or not they're even going to be here anymore. And like I said, we're the last leg on the totem pole. We're the last rung on the ladder now. So if you get cut from here, you got nowhere to go. So you're going to get a job or something somewhere for the rest of the winter. But and it's for my purposes also. I mean, mean, you know, I don't like to lose. I never have. I was never a good loser, and it's just one of those things that I don't handle very well.
Now, I know you're committed to the Danbury Whalers, but do you have aspirations of moving up the ladder yourself and making a go of it? Is this where great hockey coaches, they got to pay their dues in the minor leagues and then move up?
Yeah, pretty much. This is where it is. I mean, I retired a couple of years ago from playing myself, and then you know, I took a couple of years off, and they were probably a couple of the worst years of my life because I had nothing to do with hockey for those couple of years. After.
What did you do? Sell insurance?
I own a construction company and landscaping company, so it's one of those things. But I've been doing that since I've been playing. So I went and did that for a couple of years, and then I got into this coaching thing last year with being the assistant coach here with Chris, you know, as an assistant coach. And I played for a long time, and I didn't like some of the ways Chris had. I didn't like some of the things that Chris did, and I mean, not that we didn't get along. We had a pretty good working relationship, and it worked out pretty well for us last year. I didn't want to be under him anymore, and I didn't want to be in a situation where I didn't have a say in how things were done. With me being a player for so long, I mean, you know, so that was one of the big things. I mean, I know where these guys are at. I've been in their shoes before and stuff, and that was something that Chris never had. So I can, you know, relate to the players a lot better, and the guys seem to respond to me a lot better. They did last year too, and it was just one of those things where, you know, Chris decided to move on. He decided to go start another organization down there in New Jersey, and now we're playing against them. And you know, they're doing pretty well. He has a pretty good team down there. They have 2 losses, and they only have 2 losses, but both of those losses are to us. I mean, we have beat them twice.
In their building too.
In their building too, yeah. So it's just one of those things. I think now that last night was the 5th game, so he's up 3-2 now or something. But the good thing about it is, like I said, we play him again in another week, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. How many teams are there in this league?
There's 8 or 9.
Okay, so you're going to see these guys.
Oh, yeah,
so you can remember numbers. You can, you know, that their grudges, they tend to fester.
Yeah.
Let me just ask coaching philosophy. There's a coach in the NHL. Everyone knows him, Mike Keenan. He's a color guy. Some guys say that Mike Keenan drives his players so hard that he can only last with an organization for 1, maybe 2 years. He was responsible, and he coached in the Chicago Blackhawks for a while, and he just ground them down so bad that he finally had to leave. When he coached the Rangers in '94, they finally won a Stanley Cup, but it was like, we can't just keep this intensity up that much. How do you gauge it with your players? What's your philosophy? Is the stick, the carrot? How do you gauge that, or is it just full go all the time?
Well, for me, it's full go all the time, most of the time. From a lot of people who know me, that's just the way I am. That's just the way I'm wired. So, but you know, there's also when you're the head coach and stuff, you have to know who you're dealing with. I mean, there's some players on the team who can't handle that, and then there's some players on the team who you have to do that to. I mean, you mentioned Chris Clark there a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys who's been with me for a couple of years now. I mean, we actually we played together. And then when I retired, he was on that Hudson Valley team that I coached that he was on, and he's one of those guys that I basically just have to ride him into the ground every single day in order to get him to play well.
Okay.
And if I tell him if I go out there and he does something well and I tell him he did good, he'll just sit back and he'll kind of run with that I told him he did good, and then the next shift it'll be terrible. So every time he comes back to the bench, I pretty much got to tell him how bad he is.
Okay.
So
so you gauge it.
Yeah. So
because you got like Chris Seifert, and I saw a little. This was last year, but I forget what it was, but it was, I think you were like down 2 goals. It was between the 2nd and 3rd period. You're down 2 goals, and the coaches come in, they're riding them hard, yelling, and Chris finally kind of stands up and goes, "Coach, okay, we got it, Coach. We'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. We got this. We got this." He went out in the 3rd period and scored 2 goals. He ended up winning the game.
Yeah.
And but he might be one guy that doesn't respond necessarily to the whip quite as much.
Like I said, yeah, there's a fine line. You have to know who you're dealing with, and with the amount of time that we spend together every day, with the amount of time we spend together, you know, preseason and then all year long, I mean, you get to know these guys so well. I mean, they're almost like, and I don't have any kids of my own, but it's like I got 25 kids now. It's just one of those things that you get to know them so well that you know how to treat each one in different ways in order to get what you need out of them. And some of them, you got to keep giving them that pat on the back even when they're playing bad. And some of them, like I said, you just got to ride them into the ground to get them to do what you want.
And the best dynamic is if you got leadership within the locker room, and then they can kind of lead their own team, so it's not all on you.
Yeah.
But you got leadership coming from within the team that's helping the.
And that was one of the things that I was big about with getting this year, and we got a couple of really good ones. I got the kid number 44, Kelly Miller, and I got number 22, Nick Duchesne. Now Nick Duchesne.
Yeah, Duchesne, he's like this big guy from Alberta, Canada, or something like that. Canmore, Alberta.
Yeah, he's my
he's
player.
a no-nonsense son of a
he's
gun.
my player assistant coach. He's our captain. He's an older guy who's played a lot of years in the American Hockey League, which is 2 levels above this, and now he's kind of on his way, into the mode where he's trying to make the transition from playing to coaching, and he wanted to get into the assistant coaching part, so that's what he's doing to help me out. But he's actually the player assistant coach, so I got a little bit better of a benefit now because I have him in the locker room too when I'm not in there.
And you don't got to like lay it on thick with that guy because he's a pro. He knows what's going on.
He knows what the rules are. He knows how to be disciplined. He's helping out the younger guys and everything else, so it's a really big help to us. I mean, that was a big pickup for us this year. He's doing really well now, and he's doing really well in his job. So things are only going to get better. I mean, it's like I said, it's early in the season. I'm not hitting the panic button at all. I mean, I know for a fact we're going to wind up making the playoffs, so it's not an issue. And then when we get there, we'll put it all together. So
okay, 1980. Herb Brooks is coaching the United States Olympic team. They lose to the Russians. Something like 10-1 in Madison Square Garden like 2 weeks before the Olympics. Same 2 teams. It was like a warm-up game for the Olympics. There's one guy on the team, on the Olympic team, that's injured. And Herb Brooks keeps playing him, and then he lashes into this guy between periods like, you son of a gun, why aren't you skating harder? What's the matter with you? You don't care, you don't got hard, I'm sick of you. And the whole team rallies around this guy because he's injured. That's why he's not hustling as much. And Herb Brooks had enough like this kind of psychological double, trick going on that he got the whole team to rally around this one guy, got them all so mad that they just went out there, and I heard they even had like a fight between periods in the locker room. They went out there and won a game against the Russians that they had lost to 10-1.
Yeah.
I mean, do you get into any of that kind of mind game stuff, or is that just too like Herb Brooks-esque to even consider?
I haven't.
Did you hear that story?
No, I've heard that story, and I've actually seen the movie and read the book and all that stuff. So it's one of those things, but it's definitely that. It's like that pretty much every other night. I mean, you have a different scenario every night. Like last night with us, in the game, when we came out for the 3rd period and we were down by 2 goals, it was me getting on the guys in the locker room about Corey Fulton. I mean, Corey Fulton's one of my players who doesn't see the ice very much.
Yeah.
He does a lot of the enforcer stuff. He does a lot of fighting and stuff. So in games when it's 2-1, 1-2, 1-0, things like that, he doesn't see the ice very much. And then when he gets out on the ice, he sometimes he just amazes me.
He scores a goal.
He goes out there and scores a goal, and he does something, and he's got like 1 shift compared to everybody else that's had 12, 13, 14 shifts. So it's like something like that, and then I get in the locker room and I start harping on the fact that this kid sits on the bench and he comes out there and does that, and all these other guys who are out there every shift can't get it done. So it's just one of those things where you got to try and pick and choose your battles, and you got to pick and choose what you're going to harp on, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So.
I'm telling you, I was thinking that at that game, it was a great game. You weren't there. They were down 2 goals. It was 2-0. Then in the second period, they scratch back. They get it to 2-2. But then with a minute left in the period, they give up just a nothing goal at the end. So you never want to give up a goal at the last minute of the period. You just don't want to do that. It's really bad. And then the 3rd period, it didn't work out so good. This is a question I always get asked, and I know you're not going to answer it, but people always ask, how much money do these guys make? I mean, can they make a living at it? Is this a part-time job? I mean, you got guys here from, like I say, Ontario, from Alberta, Canada, Syracuse, New York, Montreal, Quebec, Windsor, Ontario. I mean, this isn't just a local guy going out for a skate. So what's the deal there?
I'll put it to you this way: the guys are here for the love of the hockey game. They love the sport so much, and they want to get a chance to move up and make more money, and obviously make a living at it. And this is sort of a living. And when you're 22, 23, 24 years old, like some of these guys are, I mean, you're not doing bad. I mean, you're doing okay. I mean, obviously some of them, like Nick DeShane, graduated from Yale, so he's got a Yale degree. But
what about the guy named Governor's son? Are we not supposed to talk about that?
Well, I don't know. We don't really talk about that too much anymore.
So I shouldn't mention it like on TV.
No.
Not that many people watch this show. But hypothetically, you got some pretty high visibility guys.
Yeah, no, we have a couple. Like I said, Nick DeShane graduated from Yale, and he's got a degree from Yale, but he's here playing hockey because he loves it and he wants to make a career of it. And that's basically what these guys are doing. They're doing the same thing, like what you asked me before, what I'm doing. I mean, everybody starts in a certain spot, and you try and work your way up to the highest level you can be Yeah, but you know, they're doing okay. I mean, we take care of all their housing, so all their houses and stuff are paid for. We take care of all their utilities and things like that and stuff, and pretty much we take care of most of their meals and food.
Replace their
and
hockey
like
sticks?
We pay
free
for
skate sharpening?
Yeah, we pay for all
Jerseys are all included?
All that stuff's
so
included.
what the hell? They're doing good.
You know, so the money they're making is pretty much buying beer. So
okay. And even that, there's some deals worked out.
Yeah, we got a couple of deals on that too, so it's not bad. But no, the town of Danbury is a really supportive place, and a lot of the companies and a lot of the different restaurants and things like that and stuff, and a lot of the other people that support the team, they're really, really good at it. And like I said, we're probably the gem of the league in this league. I mean, with playing in Danbury, it's one of the better places to play.
I've gone on the internet there where you can see some of the games. Like the Brooklyn place is like dead.
Yeah,
and they ended up winning the league last year.
No, they got beat in the finals by that Aquasasni team that we lost to last weekend.
Well, what's up with Aquasasni? Is that some sort of Indian reservation up there?
Yeah, it's an Indian reservation up there near
So what do you get, like really inexpensive cigarettes when you go there, or what's the story with that?
Well, I'll be honest with you, a lot of our guys, they do that chewing tobacco, and they stock up on it on the way back.
Okay, because it's like tax-free.
Yeah, so it's not bad.
Pronounce it for me one more time.
It's Aquasasni.
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 Okay, like you said. And now, are these primarily native Canadians?
No, they're not natives. A lot of the Canadians, they're all up there from that area, the Cornwall, Ontario area. They play up there. They come down from Montreal and stuff. Okay. So they have a pretty tough team because they're all a lot of Canadian kids and stuff. We had a pretty rough time of being up there last weekend. A lot of our guys are college kids and stuff like that. Yeah. They got to get used to playing that style and play that way. And we were a little intimidated last week, and we lost both games up there, so it's one of those things we got to get used to. We don't play them as much as we play the New Jersey team and the Brooklyn team and stuff, so I mean, we probably won't see them again until later on in the season or in the playoffs.
But when I see some of these other games, when you come into the Danbury Arena, they got the thing wired. I mean, it is a fun night, and it's not expensive. I mean, I've got Ranger tickets. We used to have kind of like half-season tickets. It's expensive. You go down there, parking, getting in and out of the city, but go to a Whalers game, it's not that bad. Not that I'm doing anything commercial at all. I'm just saying, as a civic announcement, as part of our community, it's something you might want to see. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Mark.
I really appreciate it very much, and wish you all the best right now. You're 7-7. What's your wife's name again?
My wife's name is Danielle.
Will Danielle even consider coming in here and saying hello? Not at all? And now, if you've lost a game or you're upset about stuff, does Danielle have some way of calming you down? Does she make you macaroni and cheese and a beer, or
no?
Or what's her approach?
She pretty much just stays away. So
she just stays out of it altogether. It's probably best. That's probably the best way to do it. Well, listen, the Danbury Whalers hockey team. If you haven't been to one of these games, you should, just from a civic point of view. I'm not being commercial at all. But you should come out. It's really a great thing. Even had Mayor Bowden drop the puck, I remember, a year or two ago for the opening game, and it really has helped to revitalize the Danbury downtown. They're fine young guys. I'm telling you, they skate hard, they hustle, and they leave it all out on the ice. It's something to see. So again, I want to thank you very much for coming in. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Next time, you'll bring some of the other players in if you can.
Couple. They had curfew tonight. Can we get a game tomorrow?
Okay, and then you're also talking about doing some kind of a show to be announced, right?
Yeah, coach's show I think we're going to do.
Coach's show. It might be set up in some place where you can get a beverage or two, so that's good. So be looking for that. And thanks again for joining us. Next Thursday, I don't know what we're going to watch. We don't have an update on the football game, but we got a lot of good stuff. I mean, 9 to 10. What else is there to watch? Come join us again next week, and we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.